On November 26th, 1930, a news article titled "Village of the Dead" was published on the front page of the Medine Daily Journal newspaper in Canada. This news spread fear across the country as an entire tribe in northern Canada had mysteriously disappeared overnight without leaving any trace. Welcome back to Global Facts, viewers. We're talking about the Angakuni Lake in the remote regions of northern Canada, where an Eskimo tribe lived along the shore. Around 100 to 150 people resided there fishing in the lake to make a living. This part of northern Canada is so sparsely populated, with only a few thousand people scattered over millions of square kilometers due to the harsh climate. Apart from fishing, hunting animals was common, and hunters frequently visited the area. On a cold day in November 1930, a hunter named Lebel arrived in the area. He became so absorbed in hunting that he didn't notice when nightfall came. He decided to visit the Eskimo tribe, as he had done many times before, as the tribe was known for welcoming outsiders. It was a moonlit night, but the area was eerily silent. No one was visible and no sounds could be heard except for the sound of his own footsteps. He had done this before, but something felt different tonight. Strange, unsettling noises seemed to come from the area, noises from the animals the tribe kept. But as he neared the settlement, the silence was even more pronounced. Lebel quickened his pace, thinking the villagers were either asleep or had gone elsewhere. From a distance, he could see the smoke rising from the huts, but as he got closer, he couldn't hear any voices. When he entered the settlement, he was stunned to find that there were no people, no animals, nothing at all. To make matters more bizarre, smoke still rose from some homes, as though someone had recently been there cooking food. Some cooking pots were left on stoves, but the food had burned. It seemed as though the people had been interrupted during dinner. Even the women's sewing equipment was left behind with needles threaded. It was as if the people had vanished without a trace. Lebel began searching the settlement and found that the dogs the tribe kept were dead, their collars still around their necks. The strange part was that food had been left out for them, but there was no one to feed them. He discovered a recently dug grave, which seemed to have been dug not long ago. This increased Lebel's anxiety and fear. Alone in the dark, he was now terrified. The villagers always took their dogs with them when they left, but this situation felt odd, as though something had happened that forced the people to leave so abruptly that they couldn't even take their dogs' food or extinguish the fires. Unable to make sense of what had happened, he quickly headed to the nearest telegraph office and contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. He described the eerie scene, and when the police arrived, they found everything exactly as Lebel had reported. The police suspected a massacre had occurred, but there were no signs of blood and no evidence of a struggle. The scene seemed too neat, with no scattered belongings or blood. They began a search operation, and the findings were even more perplexing. The entire village was covered in snow, but there were no footprints in the snow, except for Lebel's own. This led the police to believe that no one had entered or left the settlement other than Lebel. The lake's surface was frozen and the villagers' boats were parked on the shore as they couldn't fish during this season. If the villagers had fled across the lake or been thrown into it, the ice would have cracked, but the ice was intact. The police also learned that the tribe had vanished several days before Lebel arrived, as the dogs had been dead for a couple of days. The smoke from the homes indicated the villagers hadn't been gone long. Despite months of search operations, the case remained unsolved. The police were forced to close it, marking it as unresolved. Over time, the incident was largely forgotten. However, 50 years later, in 1984, writers Roger Bohr and Nigel Blunder published an article connecting the event to aliens. They claimed that when they explored the area near Angakuni Lake, a hunter and his two sons reported seeing strange flying objects over the lake. They believed these objects were headed toward the Eskimo settlement. Based on this story, they theorized that aliens had abducted the villagers that night. However, there was no concrete evidence to support this theory, and most people rejected it. Since then, many other stories about the missing Eskimo tribe have emerged, but the truth remains a mystery. Even though this incident is now almost 100 years old, no one knows for sure what happened to the people of the Angakuni Lake village. The mystery of the missing Eskimo tribe endures to this day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and leave your comments. Thank you for your support. See you in the next exciting video.